Hi everyone, today I'm here with my book review of Frankenstein by Mary Shelley, and without further ado, let's just get on straight away with this book review. So the first thing I'm going to do is tell you what the book's about, and today I'm actually going to be reading the blurb on the back of the book, because I just think sometimes with classics it's hard to make them sound really good, and I want to make this sound good because it's fantastic. This has a great blurb on the back, so I just thought I may as well read it because I probably couldn't describe it better myself. A twisted upside-down creation myth, Mary Shelley's chilling Gothic tale lays bare the dark side of science and the horror that lies within us all. It tells the story of Victor Frankenstein, who plunders graveyards to create a new being from the bodies of the dead, but whose butchered creature causes nothing but murder and destruction. Written after a nightmare when its author was only 18, Frankenstein gave birth to the modern science fiction novel. So the first thing to talk about today is the characters, and I would say that the characters were fantastic in this book. I love the variation of different characters and the uniqueness that each character had. For example, I felt like with Victor Frankenstein, he was characterised in a very precise way, and although he was an individual, isolated man, very different to anyone else, at the same time he had a great backstory which just made him such an interesting character to read about. Another thing is that the monster himself was fantastic to read about, very exciting and very fascinating. I could not stop reading about him and I just wanted to know more and more, especially with the creation and everything. I've never read anything like it before, you know. This monster was such a unique character and such an interesting character as well. Another quick thing that I picked up on when I was reading was the female characters, which were very different to the male characters, and I really like that this added variation to the book. For example, we have Elizabeth, who's presented as being this very sort of ideal woman really, and lots of great imagery is used to describe her, and then we have another character called Safi, who is presented as a very independent woman, and I really enjoyed reading about these female characters because they just added another dimension to the book. Now let's talk about the plot, and I'm going to say that straight away with this book it got going. I couldn't stop reading and I was addicted from the very first page, and I really loved how it started as well. Basically it starts with 4 letters from Robert Walton, who is on an expedition at the Arctic, and from this we're introduced to Victor Frankenstein, and because of this everything gets going from the start and it's very intriguing from the very first few pages. Although I really did enjoy those letters, for me the best part was the creation of everything. The creation of this monster was so fantastic. It was unique. I was very interested. I loved the whole idea and the themes that surrounded this creation. The only problem I would say with the plot is that it was not very consistent, and some parts were really interesting but other parts were not as interesting. I think that in the middle a few chapters were just not as good as the rest. The final major thing that I have to talk about today is of course the writing style, and I would say the writing style is really good in this book. It's very vivid and descriptive, and at times it's very creepy as well, which was great because it's a Gothic book and I wanted to be creeped out by it, and I definitely was. I would also say that the dialogue in this book was really well done. It was placed at very appropriate parts just to break everything down a little bit, really just to make it a little bit more bearable with all the description and everything, which of course I do love the description, but I love dialogue as well, and I really felt like it just helped to split everything up a little bit more. Mary Shelley also managed to use a lot of great symbolism and imagery. For example, there was some symbolism of darkness, light and fire, and these are 2 things that I really remember well, and they really enhanced my reading experience basically, and I think because of this it was a great writing style, and Mary Shelley had clearly thought out this well, and she just, you know, she is fantastic. She's a very talented writer, and I just think, you know, she definitely deserves the success that she had at only 18. So my overall rating for Frankenstein by Mary Shelley is going to be a 4 out of 5. It was very nearly a 4.5, but then I felt like in the middle maybe it wasn't as good, and for me my enjoyment levels were not as high at this point, so I gave it a 4 instead. But the majority of this book was amazing. It was so good to read about. I really enjoyed it. Loved the characters, loved the whole concept of creation, loved the writing style. It was so vivid. It is definitely something I'd recommend. I just think everyone would enjoy it. It's creepy, but it's fantastic to read. So everyone, that is it for today's book review of Frankenstein. Please tell me down below in the comments what you thought of this book, if you've already read it, or if you're planning to read it in the future, please let me know as well. Hopefully I persuaded you to. But until next time, thank you so much for watching, and see you all again in my next video.